Well, I finally got an opportunity to go over to the fire area in Boulder Creek, and I didn't really know what to expect. On the positive side, the drive from Skyline all the way over to Boulder Creek was quite beautiful. There was no sign of the fire, but when I got there, I went off into a neighborhood, and it was quite devastating. Home after home after home was gone. It was just, everything was torched. The reason I went there was to assess a grouping of redwood trees. And I found it very interesting that these redwood trees, many of them were like the children of an old stump from a long time ago logging operation. So you can see there's a circle of trees, and there was a big old cut-off stump in the middle. Well, those old stumps caught fire, and they burned down, and the roots from the old stump that went underground actually undermined a lot of these trees. This is an old tan oak. That one's got to go. And sadly, I condemned just dozens and dozens of trees because they're now very much destabilized. There's a piece of an old stump that the fire department pulled out of the way. And what I also found interesting is that there's two sides of this issue. Some of these trees are still green up on the top, but because of the loss of stability, I'm condemning them. If we have a big rain come in and they get waterlogged and things, water rushes down and destabilizes them even further, then we're going to have some really, really serious problems. And sadly, I surveyed about 5 acres of the fire area. That's 5 acres out of the 85,000 acres that burned in the fire in our area. And it got me to thinking about the burns in California this year. Our fire, which was horribly devastating, was 85,000 acres. But that's only 1/40th of the fires that have been going on in California this year, because over 4 million acres have burned this year in California. There's the remains of an old boat, an old car. I mean, I took lots and lots of still pictures that I'm not even going to include in here. It was quite horrific. It was interesting. See all those propane cylinders down there and fuel cylinders. I think the fire department came in and emptied them and then marked them with an X. This is what I'm talking about, where they were underburned. Some of these I could reach under 3 and 4 feet underneath these trees. And because it was a circle of trees growing around a big stump, the potential for these going down is very, very real. It was also interesting that many of these old stumps through time hollowed out, and they became depositories for all kinds of garbage. There was cans and bottles, and some of the bottles were ancient. And once all the duff burned off, all the needles and all the stuff, it just exposed all the garbage that was on the bottom. That was rather interesting to see. So, my assessment was kind of sad. I mean, everywhere I looked, I saw all these destabilized root systems, but the canopies were still green. In some case, look at that. I looked up and everything was green, and even the trunks on many of these trees had very little burn area, but the stumps that burned out burned under the ground. And the guy that I was working for, this guy right here that called me up, he said that there was many fires that were still erupting. Matter of fact, this one he's taking me over to, he had just put it out this morning. It came back to life again. So underground. I'll let you listen to what he has to say.
Putting this one out, huh?
I put it out this morning.
Really? Oh boy, I can smell it. Here's where somebody's been doing some chopping.
That was Davey.
Yeah.
He came and evaluated. They actually marked a bunch of these trees, and then Atlas Field came through and took off the markings.
Uh-huh.
They only care about if it's going to land on power lines.
Well.
So yeah, this whole root system in here
It's not that they don't care about it, but that's their job.
Yeah.
So.
It's nice to see that somebody's coming back after Davey and
Yeah.
at least evaluating, because they've marked a couple trees that Davey missed. Told that's what they are. Species we will probably never see again. Hopefully, we'll never see again.
Fire followers. That's pretty amazing to see all these sprouts coming up.
Yeah, like none of this was here. Like that.
And it's been a month?
Yeah, it's been, actually it was August 20th that it came through, so about a month and a half.
6 weeks ago, and there's already life coming back. This one looks like it's marked for removal. It's pretty dead looking.
I'm not sure what, this was marked by the Atlas Field Company, I think.
Yeah. This one had some pre-existing damage. But you know what? I would love to come back and see this in a year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this foliage is going to re-sprout out.
There's already some sprouting on these.
I'm always amazed at redwood trees.
My neighbor, I gave him your contact info. I don't know if he's going to reach out, but he owns the property about maybe quarter mile this way. It's just sticks, and there's already green shoots 20, 30 feet in the air.
I can hear some
Like
bulldozers
right
over
there.
there. Yeah. Just little sticks like that, huh?
Yep, just sticking out of the side of it.
Oh my God, such devastation. I'm so sorry this happened to you guys. Your house got saved. You're a lucky one.
Yeah.
You must...
They had a lot of clear property around their house too.
This one did.
Yeah.
So they did a really good job, and it still torched their house.
Yeah, it was just came down the fence line and...
This looks like a modular home.
Yeah. It was a pretty nice one and a new one too.
Huh.
You can see their fridge survived. But like, this is like concrete.
But it's still burned.
Yeah, but it's still burnt. And
It is. It's like hardy board.
yeah, yeah. The stuff that's supposed to be,
That's what my house is made of.
that's what my house needs to be made of, instead of that plywood.
So I spent a bit of time walking around the neighborhood while I was here, and I surveyed about 15 or 20 homes in the area that was burned all the way to the ground. And it was quite alarming for me to see all this devastation. And in some cases, I'd look up and I'd see that the upper crown was completely burned. That was kind of interesting as I attended a Zoom conference yesterday on identifying hazards in forest fires. And one of the things that they talked about was called bark char. And you could see in one of those earlier shots where somebody came along with a hatchet or a chisel and chopped into the bark. And it depends upon the tree to see whether it burns all the way down and kills the cambium. So much of the chopping is to better identify if there's still healthy living tissue underneath the bark. And there's different degrees of bark char. You know, there's from minor bark char to extreme bark char that kills the tree. And I saw all the different stages of it throughout this whole burn area. Oh, this is sad. This was somebody's workshop. There was all kinds of tools in there. There was a lathe and a bunch of the tools, drill press. There's a lathe right there, metal lathe, and it was just really sad. And the old guy that owned this property was up there, and I went up and talked with him for a little bit, and he got all choked up, and I thought he was about ready to cry. He was so upset about this whole thing. He was doing what he could do. He was building a new pad to move a trailer up there so he could live here and keep working it. I tell you, I feel so blessed that our house was saved. And when I see stuff like this, I know it's just the luck of nature. I don't even know what to say.